This is Turkey, one of the world's earliest permanently settled regions, a country renowned for its history, food, and barbers. Being home to 85 million people and located at the crossroads of Europe and Asia makes it rich with an abundance of cultures and natural landscapes. It's no wonder Turkey is the sixth most visited country in the world. Turkey today is the 19th largest economy in the world with an estimated GDP of $906 billion. From the early 2000s to 2017, the economy of Turkey was booming, enjoying high economic growth rates. The country looked to be the economic powerhouse capable of being the link between the rich states of the Middle East and the EU. The middle class was expanding and poverty was shrinking. Stability and high confidence had allowed for this growth. As a member of the EU's custom union, Turkey can freely trade and receive investment from EU states. It also has a relatively cheaper but highly skilled workforce. Thus, the country managed to build a sizable manufacturing base with industries including automobiles, shipbuilding, and machinery. Another massive sector of the Turkish economy is tourism. In 2019, the country received record numbers with 51.9 million tourists pumping $34.5 billion into the economy. It's not hard to see why Turkey attracts so many tourists, with its breathtaking scenery and plentiful UNESCO World Heritage Sites. However, from 2017 onwards, political troubles and economic mismanagement have dented the rapid economic growth. Turkey is grappling with high inflation and a weak lira, making prices unstable and reducing purchasing power for many of its citizens. In 2014, Recep Tayyip Erdogan was elected the 12th president of the Turkish Republic. As a Muslim, Erdogan expressed his support for Islamic finance. Under Sharia law, the religious law of Islam, interest is forbidden as it is considered unethical. All Islamic finance practices must adhere to Sharia law. Therefore, Islamic banks are prevented from usury and typically operate on a profit and loss sharing basis. Savings accounts held with Islamic banks are not rewarded with interest but rather with the profits made by investing the deposit. Loans may be given but are charged with an inflated service fee, or the bank could be entitled to a share of the profits made by the borrower. For example, if you were to get a mortgage with an Islamic bank, the bank would buy the house you want and then charge you an inflated rent before just outright giving you the house after 30 years. Erdogan himself has called interest rates the mother and father of all evil. In 2017, it was discovered that the private sector in Turkey was taking on substantial debt in order to fund their growth. This credit was mostly sourced from banks based in Europe, as Turkish banks were more conservative and risk-adverse. After the failed July 2016 coup, the Turkish government declared a state of emergency and began a sweeping crackdown across the nation. This led to over 100,000 people being sacked or suspended from their jobs and over 50,000 people arrested. In response, the European Parliament passed a resolution to suspend Turkey's EU accession talks. This meant that European banks were now less willing to lend to Turkish companies, and Turkey experienced a huge drop in tourism in 2016. At the same time, the Turkish lira was drastically depreciating. This made it harder for Turkish firms to repay the loans denoted in foreign currency. All these factors made many firms go bust. In response, the government raised interest rates and introduced austerity measures. This helped Turkish firms pay back some of their loans as the lira appreciated. However, this came at the cost of soaring unemployment, which reached 13.7% in 2019, a record high figure after the introduction of the new lira in 2005. The COVID-19 pandemic meant many Turkish firms once again were facing debt crises, as two of Turkey's biggest industries, tourism and heavy manufacturing, were effectively put on hold. This further drove down the value of the lira. Initially, the Turkish central bank raised interest rates, but Erdogan himself had different ideas. He wanted interest rates to be lowered in order to boost the competitiveness of Turkish exports. Since 2019, he even sacked 3 central bank governors who opposed his vision. This spooked foreign investors and damaged confidence in the Turkish economy. In some cases, Erdogan's idea may have worked, as devaluing the currency does make exports more attractive, especially as Turkey's current account deficit is in bad shape. The deficit was $7.26 billion in 2021, before sharply increasing to $48 billion in 2022. However, Turkey is super reliant on imports such as fertilizer and especially energy. Currently, Turkey spends over $40 billion a year on energy imports. Thus, a tumbling lira makes these imports even more expensive. This severely hurts the common Turk and small businesses, which in turn widens inequalities. Many rich Turks simply keep their savings in USD or euros, further damaging the lira as demand falls. To prop up the lira and relieve the current account deficit, the central bank was forced to sell over $100 billion worth of foreign currency. Plummeting foreign currency reserves could lead to a balance of payments crisis. The sad thing about this whole ordeal is that it could entirely be prevented with the help of sensible monetary policy. Nevertheless, in the run-up to the 2023 presidential elections in Turkey, Erdogan changed direction. He promised a new economic policy and to lower inflation to single digits from the current rate around 60%. Erdogan appointed new finance minister Mehmet Şimşek and a new central bank governor Hafiz Erkan. Many hope these appointments will lead Turkey back to economic orthodoxy, as both ministers have publicly disagreed with previous economic policies and spent a large part of their careers working at big Western banks like Merrill Lynch. Interest rates have now increased to 30%. However, real interest rates are still below zero, which means further hikes will be needed. Many foreign investors are still skeptical over Erdogan's supposed change in heart. In 2021, Central Bank Governor Naci Agbal was dismissed after just 3 months for raising interest rates. Afterwards, his replacement began lowering interest rates again, in a move widely criticized by many prominent investors. Many Turkish firms have approved of the new economic policies. Haluk Bayraktar, the CEO of Bayrak Technology, a prominent arms manufacturer in Turkey, publicly expressed his support for higher interest rates. If inflation is cancer, interest is chemotherapy. Of course, the ideal is for both to be at low levels. However, at this stage, inflation remains the most important problem we need to overcome, said Bayraktar, whose brother is Erdogan's son-in-law. Şimşek's new model includes tight monetary and fiscal policy, while also encouraging exports and local investment in an attempt to rebalance the economy. Taxes on petrol and other goods have been raised. Rules on commercial banks were changed to limit lending and reduce consumption. Both Şimşek and Erkan have been working to improve foreign investor confidence, holding a series of talks and presentations with investment funds including BlackRock, who manages over $9 trillion in assets. Turkish equities markets have raised over $1.4 trillion since the beginning of June, but stocks and bonds markets are almost at historic lows of investment. However, overall, these efforts are likely to take some time, due to the many reversals under Erdogan's previous track record. Improving foreign relations with the EU and Middle East is also hoped to draw more investment. The economic woes at home has led to a dramatic foreign policy U-turn. After a decade of strained relations with many Middle Eastern nations, Turkey began a charm offensive to make friends and attract investment. In 2021, Turkey and the UAE signed a $10 billion investment deal. In July 2023, this expanded to over $50 billion in investment and financing deals. The UAE had previously invested in huge Turkish firms like Getir and Trendyol. The country also has extensive dealings with Qatar, who is its second biggest investor. Saudi Arabia has also pledged to deposit $5 billion in the Turkish central bank, as well as agreeing to buy Turkish-made drones. Turkey has also signed many currency swap deals with countries such as China, South Korea, and Azerbaijan to relieve pressure on the lira. Just like any other politician, Erdogan will have his mind focused on the upcoming 2024 local elections as he looks to take back Istanbul and Ankara. This may put him in a dilemma, as a rapid hike in interest rates may see the country fall into recession and risk his chances at the polling stations, or it could significantly lower inflation and bring back confidence among foreign investors. Many economists are worried Erdogan could pull off another astonishing reversal to boost his position ahead of the 2024 local elections. In the run-up to the 2023 presidential elections, Erdogan rolled out a huge economic stimulus, including minimum wage and pension increases, free gas, and reconstruction efforts in the earthquake-hit areas. Not only did this fuel inflation, but the spending spree also worsened the budget deficit. JP Morgan warned that the budget deficit could creep up to 4.5% of GDP this year, compared to only 0.9% in 2022. Increasing interest rates will push up the government's debt servicing costs. This could widen the budget deficit for Turkey, which could spiral into austerity measures. Austerity will damage the common Turk as spending cuts for public services reduces living standards and higher taxes reduces their income. Government forecasts believe Turkey can halve inflation to around 30% by the end of the year, while also achieving a 4% growth rate in 2024. However, many economists believe these figures are unrealistic as the government must choose between prioritizing inflation or economic growth. Only a few years ago, Turkey's economy was riding high, with economic growth rates well above OECD and G7 averages. Yet, economic mismanagement and political troubles have threatened to reverse these improvements. Although the recent U-turn may come as a breath of fresh air for some, many remain skeptical over Erdogan's commitment to tight monetary policy. Only time can tell whether this new economic model will work. Due to the fickle nature of politicians and their infamous habit of policy myopia, these changes may be struck down before its fruits can truly blossom. The short-term pain of high interest rates is a necessary evil in order to fix the crippling inflation crisis and safeguard ordinary Turks. Turkey is fundamentally a solid economy, so there is no reason it cannot prosper as a regional powerhouse under the correct management and investment environment. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, please feel free to leave a thumbs up and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe for more engaging content. As always, we appreciate your support and we'll see you in the next video. Until then, hoşça kal.